What's up, lemon heads? Welcome back to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. I'm Emily.
And I'm Crystal.
And this week, we're going to talk about, pun intended, how to make air conditioning units cool in your marketing.
Absolutely. We love to have a good time. So I just got off a call with a client earlier today, and he was like, I don't know, like, my digital company just was like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know. I'm not creative. I don't think outside the box. I don't know. I need somebody to tell me what to do. And I'm like,
and then here comes Crystal.
Yeah, I'm like, sure,
off all the stuff.
Be prepared. Be careful what you ask for. So let's get down to how we can make AC units cool. Sip some lemonade.
Let's do it. All right. So obviously we've got some puns already happening here and stuff, and we're actually going to kind of get into how puns can make things interesting and clever in your marketing and stuff like that. But at its core, air conditioning is not cool. Is not sexy, is not super...
Like a colonoscopy, no one's excited.
If anybody's going to school for marketing or graphic design or anything, they're like, sign me up for air conditioning units. It's not happening, okay?
Yeah, or hot water heater, or well, I'm sorry, my East Texas showed, or water heaters, or drain clearings, or indoor air quality equipment.
But then here's Lemon Seed. We built a whole business around doing just that, so...
Yes, so you have to get out of your own way a little bit and understand you live the life surrounded by fan coils and condensers and thermostats and pipes and jetters and all of those things. And the average consumer could care less about that.
Correct.
So we have to figure out a way to bring back some life into those things, stop the scroll, catch the attention. And more than anything, we just want to be a little creative so that we can stand out in a very crowded space for a lot of you, and how we can just do some creative things. And so the first thing that I always like to start with is I like the idea of campaigns.
Yes.
And so, you'll be on certain, if you watch like national retailers and national things like Geico Insurance or Fidelity or any of those things, they're running campaigns for a while. And they spend a lot of time creating the perfect message that's going to be short-lived, but makes has a good bang for
bang for your buck.
Thank you. Little punch. But what I think air conditioning companies, we're $89. We have an $89 tune-up.
Yep.
It's fantastic, sir.
And here's my checklist of what I'm going to check,
So a lot of times with a little cute tagline or a fun pun, if you will, you can get a lot of life out of it that just people stop and all of a sudden pay attention.
Sure.
Because it's funny or it's clever or it's very on brand, one of the two. Sailor Max says, or John Henry, is the jack of all trades. Like those things make people stand up and pay attention. And so that's one of the first things I wanted to bring up is, when you're looking at your mundane offers, things that we've offered every day that are consistently good, barrier of entry style promotions. So they're making it to where the homeowner is less afraid to let you in the home. So another side note for a second, I know none of y'all are surprised by this. Let me tell you what to me is never a good idea.
Can't wait.
Well, I know, so excited. Percentages off. So if I tell you, Emily, hey, you can save 20% off a complete new system.
I have no idea how much that actually is.
Yeah, so is that like $500? Is it $5? Because I thought a whole new system was $3,000. And people are like, absolutely not. Like the average ticket right now is like $9,000.
Yes.
And so that 20%, it loses its emotional appeal to me because I don't get it.
Right. I don't know how much I can't do math,
Yeah, or you just don't know.
Right.
You just don't know what the cost of. So, hey, save 25% on indoor air quality. The homeowner's like, what does that even mean? What is indoor air quality and what is 25% of it? I have no idea.
Sure.
So a lot of that is like, you got to speak to the consumer, not the contractor. So we get really into our feelings about like, oh, well, it's a 10-point inspection of the bearings and we're like,
Well, and some of the contractors can get so in the weeds. Well, what if it's this? And what if it's this? So I'm just going to generalize it, make it the percentage, so that way I don't have to be more exact and things like that. But they got to kind of get out of their own way and just kind of let some things happen and set them in place so that you can get rolling with the actual promotion.
Well, and think so I want you, the next time you get ready to think about a promotion, I want you to think about the last thing that you maybe purchased. So we didn't plan this. So like, Emily, what's the last thing that you and Chris kind of purchased or had to deal with?
I can tell you this because I dealt with it last night. We bought a big bookshelf thing from IKEA.
Okay, so
I have no idea where Crystal's going to go with this.
Well, because first of all, your marriage survived.
It did, together. But unfortunately, this was like a big piece, like a 3-piece set, and we only got through the first piece so we still got 2 more to go.
With your marriage still intact?
We're still there, but barely.
Well, so kind of where I'm going with this is like, you know, when you think about your experience, so even with this IKEA purchase, what was the experience like? You kind of lead yourself back down to, you have no idea all the other shelves that were in there and all the other shelves that were there and how much this one. Some of us have done our research till we have an idea. You have an idea of where it is, but you bought that shelf because you wanted that particular shelf, and you knew that you were going to have to put it together.
Well, and I didn't go to 5 different other websites to look at their bookshelves and compare them.
Because once you saw this one, it was the one you wanted.
Yes.
So I think when we are talking about these, you have to think like the consumer thinks. So sometimes you have to think of the last time you were the consumer. So what was my experience like when I tried to do that? So that's really important. And because we know it. So I have a friend that's a doctor, and he's always like, I just don't understand why people don't come to their healthy visits. And I'm like, well, because you might find something wrong.
Right.
So we don't want to come and pay you $60 to tell us that now something's wrong. Listen, right now I'm fine.
Yeah.
So I don't want to acknowledge it. You know, so I'm like, you have to think like you have to give the benefits. Like, what are the benefits to me coming and getting this healthy checkup?
Because right now all I think it is taking off work. You know.
That correct. And I ain't got time.
Yeah,
And nobody got time
correct.
to be gone. And so it's the same thing with like tuning up your heating and air conditioning systems. Like people don't go, you know what? Thank God. Because I was worried that I needed to grease the bearings on my fan. You know, it's just not what we think about when we don't live in it. So y'all live in it every day. Same thing with drains. Like, people are just like, my drain, it drains slow. And as a plumber, you're like, why are you allowing this to do this?
Right.
And we're like, well, it's fine.
So, but what you're getting at is like, you have to be very intentional to create attention and to help make that problem of why they need you and stuff.
Yeah.
So you can be very creative in your actual wording, in your
Yep.
tagline, in your headlines, things like that. And so that's another thing that I think is kind of taken for granted is the language and wording of your brand. You know, when we talk about branding, I think everyone immediately thinks of the visual and what is the logo like, but your words and your semantics and things like that, that's all greatly a part of your brand. And
Yeah,
some of
brand chunks.
Yeah, brand chunkables.
Or we call them slices, like a lemon.
We call them slices like a lemon because like that's part of our brand. That's our wording. You know, we'll say things are very zesty. So instead of they're just cool, they're zesty because the zest of a lemon.
We're going to squeeze out.
Correct. Or we're going to juice this up. So all of those words all play into our brand versus just saying we're going to do this or this is
fun. This is exciting. Yes.
Correct.
And so when you're creating this content and you're thinking like the consumer, now tie in your brand. So if you're a polka dotted brand, use things like spot on. Like we've been talking about that for a friend that's doing a business. And
our service is spot on. Our product is spot on.
So instead of saying we get it right every time, we're going to say, oh, we are the polka dot crew. We get it right every time. We're spot on every time. So there's just these brandable pieces that really help bring it home. So when you marry those two ideas, so when you say I'm going to talk to the consumer, not to the contractor, and I'm going to try to tie it into my brand, that's when you really start coming up with some cool ideas and some cool ways to word things. And then you mentioned branding, but also in the graphics. So, you know, sometimes simple is better. Sometimes you need to get more aggressive with your branding, or there's something cool that you can tie in that makes people stop their scroll. I use
so that might be like a little trendy. Like you see this one meme going around on social media. How can you take that one popular trendy thing right at this moment and attach your brand to it? You know?
Or just change it a little bit, you know. And I'm pretty good at that. Like, if people laugh at Emily and I, like, if you give us like 10 minutes, we're going to give you 20 ideas. And 15 of them aren't any good, but 5 of them are pretty good.
Hey, that's 5 more than you had, you know?
Yeah. But a lot of that is because I can look at social media trends and immediately translate that to plumbing companies. Well, and I don't know what that is. It's because I lived that life. But, you know, when you see things, it's like all the pretty girls walk like this. And I'm like, I would love to see this beautiful, like this ugly pipe built out. And then when you plug it all in together and somebody's got it all nice and pretty and it's like this and it's plugging all the, like my brain just goes there.
Or like all the water faucet, like you see it in the kitchen, this, and then the bathroom, this, and then the shower, this, you know.
I mean, like we could just rattle those off and it just comes naturally to us. But also we try to think like the consumer with the trendy side. And then now we're like, oh, I love that. I know we have plumbers that are always trying to promote those like hands-off faucets now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's an easy trend to activate with like waving the people. Oh my gosh, that wave their hand and it's trendy. Just some cool things there. But graphics, I go back to this, like you must pay attention to your brand guide. Again, a contractor today, I was like, oh, I love this character on your vans. He's like, yeah, I don't use him anymore.
What?
So I was like, why? It made me so sad. I was like, why? And I was like, so I'm talking to this Hispanic guy And he's the owner of a company. And on the back of his van is this buffed up Arnold Schwarzenegger looking white guy with green eyes. So I was like, why'd you get rid of him? He's like, well, I just didn't know what to do with him. And I was like, so why don't we bring him back to life, but more like you, more like who you are?
Yeah.
Because you are this, you can be this brand. And he was like, oh, yeah, I really like that idea, but I don't have those muscles. I was like, well, that would probably be a topic of conversation. Like, you're going to go around, people be like, you thought that was you on the side of the van. But again, my point to him was, there is so much life hiding in a mascot.
Oh, no, for sure. And I've seen several times that, like, a customer will say, like, okay, I need a mascot. I've heard I need a mascot. And so they'll get a mascot and they'll just throw it up on the van. But they're like,
done. Shake my hands off.
Right. But then, like, what's his name? What's the story? Why do we have it? Like, yes. What is his, like, superpower? Like, what is he known for? How does he integrate into the company and the culture and things like that? And then it's like, oh, like that's the missing piece. But that's how people really make connections to the mascot and how you can really elevate the brand versus just having a character on your truck.
Absolutely. And when you take even plays off of like your name or your mascot's name.
Yes.
Again, some of you are like, oh my God, that's kitschy crap. That's kitschy stuff. Listen, it's kitschy right past you is
that's
what it
right.
does. Okay. It is memorable right past those guys that are defiant on, I'm not doing offers and I'm just good from the get-go. Well, good for you, friend.
Or if it's too cutesy, like, or people going to think I don't do good work.
Yeah.
Because it's corny.
Too kitschy. It's corny. Well, listen, we're going for memorable.
Correct.
Now, kitschy and corny is memorable, but there are other ways. Classy is memorable as well. So if you wanted to go classy or higher level, those are memorable as well. It's just
you just have
difference.
to own it and
yes,
stick to one direction.
If the name of your company is 5-star service, I'm going to call 5-star service. I'm going to tell you, when you drive up, you better be dressed like a daggum chauffeur. Buttoned up, tightened up, nice hats,
white gloves,
clean.
Yes.
Everything's clean and organized and up to par, and you get zero room to have anybody janky pants on there. And so, again, you just have to own whatever identity you're going to choose. And I'll be honest, there's multiple ways to skin this particular cat as long as you own it and you jump in on it. And then the last thing I was going to say is using terminology that people in your market say. So kind of like I said earlier,
hot water heater.
Yes, which hot water heater is actually the third highest search term where I live for plumbing. Literally, hot water heater repair. And again, I can't help redneck terminology, but it works.
Well, and that's just like being in tune to your culture and stuff, or like what you're around, because sometimes I think contractors can do this way, especially with graphics, is like get too technical. Like, that's not the exact wrench we use, that's not the exact tool, and that's not the exact hot water heater, is not the exact term but people don't know that.
Another thing that cracks me up, and I've watched our designers struggle with stuff like this, we will have contractors hold up the release of a whole campaign around the shape of the house that the designer used in one of the social media posts. And they're like, well, that doesn't look like a house here. And I was like, sir, this is a brick home in a neighborhood. It isn't like we put a home by the ocean in the middle of Arizona, in the middle of, Wyoming. It was just it didn't look like a home that they had seen. And I was like, okay, I get it. But you realize this is holding up the whole project. Like, we have overthought this to the point of no return.
Correct. I have one that we're dealing with this week, and so this is emergency. This has to go right now. Blah, blah. And she spent 4 days literally going back and forth of where the tagline should go. Should it go at the top or the bottom or in the middle?
And it's like paralysis by analysis.
Yes. And so we've spent 4 days where this could have gone out 4 days ago for this very time sensitive thing. And our design team was super responsive to it. Every few minutes we were changing it for her, but it's like, good grief.
So I do say this, now I want to say, sir, I promise you, if someone calls you and says, you put the tagline on the bottom of the email, so I'd like for you to remove me from your call list. Or you used a red brick house in the middle of a neighborhood and I live on a ranch, and so I would like for you to take me off of your email list.
I will never use you ever again.
So again, now I'm not talking about using a home on the beach when you're not near the beach, or using a home with mountains behind it when you live in East Texas. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about literal, I wish the guy had on an orange shirt.
Doesn't matter.
Ma'am, people, that we're getting way too down in the weeds when we need to be focused on higher end stuff. So when we talk about how to make AC units cool, how can we make plumbing cool, how we do it is by tying it to our brand.
Yes.
And being creative with our wording. And listen, it is not rocket science. We are literally a lot of times doing the same exact thing. We're just calling it something different. So if you've budgeted in $500 per system to be able to give back in either a rebate or a buy down or a gift with purchase, if I know you've got $500, I'm going to write that 20 different ways. We're buying your system back. We're giving away a gift card. We're, we'll buy back your Freon. Whatever.
We'll give you cash for your clunker.
Yes, I'm going to use that same $500 to do the same thing. I'm just going to call it something different each time because the messaging speaks differently to different people. Also, if you've been giving away a TV with the purchase of a complete new system for the last 5 years and you say, people are tired of that. Well, honestly, the reason I didn't call you, sir, to get a new TV is my system's still working. Like, people might not have, for 5 years from now, I didn't need the TV.
Well, and then also, like, is really everyone is over the TV, or do you just think that because you're living and breathing in these little...
You're living and breathing it.
Yes, with your other contractor friends and the groups that you're involved of, and they did a TV in Minnesota, and they did a TV in California, so I can't do a TV where I am.
Well, and if you look and you talk to your sales team or your lead techs or whomever's selling for you, and you say, hey, what's helping you get from your lower tier systems to your top tier systems? What's helping you sell a tankless water heater over a tanked water heater? What's helping you sell an upgraded electrical box? What is helping them do it is probably a gift with purchase or upgraded rebate or something that helps
some other incentive,
the sales team creatively get to the next level. So how can I use $500 to get them to spend $1,000? And that's where all of these cool things come into. And listen, if you're sitting there thinking that you're going to repost some things on your social media that come from the manufacturer, odds are that ain't sexy either. And let me tell you, every day I'm like, if I owned a boutique, if I owned a
cool restaurant,
listen, do you know social media? I could do it in my sleep. In my sleep. You know
all
what's hard to
things.
do? A backflow preventer. Okay. An air scrubber. Like you're looking at it like, okay. And then the only thing I know to do is with air scrubbers, it makes me think of pet dander, which makes me think of people liking pets. So then I start talking about their pets. And then I'm like, show me a picture of your pet. And then at the bottom, I'm like, do you need something to scrub the pet hair out of your air? So I have to literally think backwards because people don't really want to purchase what we are selling.
Correct.
This is not something that people are saving their, I'm saving up, Emily, I want to repipe my house.
It ain't happening.
Out of necessity.
And they're mad about it.
Yes. I mean, we have a lady in our office right now that every time she's always telling me like, oh, I was able to put that little bonus back towards saving for my car. So she's excited to save for that. And when she gets to go buy a new car, that's an exciting day.
No, yeah. And everyone's going to be like, roll up, go out in the parking lot, look at my new car.
She's not like, hey, everybody come over and flush the toilet. I got new pipes. Right? So, like, it's just not the same. And so we have to create our own fun around these things. And you have to create the sexiness. So, and people want to, and I say this on almost every podcast, if you will just put yourself out there a little bit, make yourself the voice of your company, record a video that says, hey guys, I'm Crystal with Lemon Seed Marketing. Listen, my idea of fun is not necessarily being in every video that Lemon Seed does. Or, and in my team, listen, again, we'll tell you this all the time. I have no shortness of shy people or of loud people on my team. But for heating and air conditioning and for plumbers, it just changes. The dynamic inside of your business is different. So it has to start from the top where you get out of your comfort zone, doing some unique offers, doing some unique things that don't break the bank, but also you can manage inside. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed us chit-chatting here about how to make your AC unit cool again and plumbing. We couldn't think of a cool, fun thing to tie in with plumbing. Are you tired of plumbing draining you of all fun? There you go. You're welcome. But how to make all these things cool again. So I just encourage you to think outside the box, do fun things. You can do it.
Yeah. It starts with your brand and always be looking to kick up your brand.
Absolutely. So, hey, if you're struggling with your brand and would love some advice, feel free to reach out to us at lemonseedmarketing.com.
Follow us on all the social media channels. Leave us a review. We would love it. Yep.
Well, hey, guys, thanks for sipping some lemonade with us. This is actually a Friday afternoon that we're recording this.
Woohoo.
So we are headed into a long weekend. And so we hope you guys have a fun weekend. And thanks for sipping lemonade with us.
We'll see you next time.